The game is won before it's played. Know your opponent. Welcome to Legendary Game Changers.
The evolution of the hustle, from playgrounds to powerhouses. In the beginning, we fought for toys, for dominance on the playground. But as we grow older, the stakes get higher, and the battles shift to the boardrooms, to the streets, and to the corporate world. What once was a fight for territory is now a fight for wealth, influence, and legacy. The rules change, but the game remains the same.
Legendary Insight.
We used to fight for building blocks. Now we fight for blocks with buildings that make a killing. This quote is a microcosm of life's brutal transformation. As kids, the battles we fought were over small things. Who had the best toys? Who could dominate a game? But as we grow older, we realize that the true battle is for the larger assets. Real estate, corporations, power. The game of survival evolves, and you either evolve with it or get left behind. We were once concerned with things we could control on a smaller scale, but as adults, we enter a world where everything is connected to the bigger picture, and the stakes are no longer just about surviving, but about controlling entire ecosystems. And in the end, it's those who control the blocks, the real estate, the infrastructure, who call the shots.
The Game Changers moment.
There was a time when I was out on the block, standing there with the homies, watching the old heads hustle. They had their ways of moving, their own codes of conduct that worked for the streets. But as time went on, I realized something. That street mentality, while sharp, needed to evolve to survive in the bigger game. I remember the day I got my first taste of real business, the kind that involved real money, real properties, and real power. It was a shady deal on the surface, but the deeper I dug, the more I realized. This was how the big players were operating. They didn't just have a hustle, they owned the real estate, the whole block. They were building empires. It wasn't just about flipping the next bag or hustling for a quick score anymore. It was about positioning myself for long-term wealth. I started looking at the world through the lens of real estate. The blocks weren't just something I lived on. They were something I could own, build on, and profit from. That realization changed everything for me. I wasn't just trying to survive. I was trying to set myself up for dominance in the game. The difference between surviving and thriving is the vision to play for the long term. You build foundations when others are just worried about the next move. In that moment, I shifted from fighting for blocks to owning blocks that made a killing.
The strategy.
1. Shift the focus. Stop focusing on small victories and start thinking about long-term gains. Look at the bigger picture, the properties, businesses, and systems that are going to matter 5, 10, or 20 years from now. Play the game of power, not just survival. You can't win just by surviving. You win by positioning yourself in ways that allow you to control the narrative. Invest in things that give you leverage: land, businesses, stocks, or any asset that appreciates in value over time. 3. Master the terrain. Whether it's the street, the boardroom, or the battlefield, you must understand the terrain and how to use it to your advantage. Know where the money flows, who holds the power, and how you can infiltrate or control these systems. 4. Build something bigger. Fight for things that matter. Don't just hustle for the next quick score. Build something that will pay dividends for years to come. The blocks you control today will be the foundations of your empire tomorrow.
Power in action.
Look at the transformation of power in urban America. Once upon a time, the most dominant figures in certain neighborhoods were those who controlled the streets: hustlers, gang leaders, and enforcers. But over time, the real power shifted. The ones who truly held influence weren't the ones standing on the corners. They were the ones who owned the corners. Take the rise of Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma, in the early 1900s. The people in that district weren't just making money. They were building generational wealth. They weren't fighting over street corners. They owned banks, hospitals, newspapers, and real estate. Their power didn't come from fleeting control over blocks, but from strategic ownership that put them in a position of real influence. This principle has played out time and time again. The most powerful figures in any society are not the ones fighting over crumbs, but the ones controlling the distribution of the loaf. From real estate moguls to corporate tycoons, those who understand ownership and long-term positioning always win the game.
The trap to avoid.
Don't get stuck fighting for scraps. A lot of people stay stuck in the mindset of fighting for short-term victories. They hustle, they grind, but they never look at the bigger picture. They end up trapped in a cycle of survival instead of making the strategic moves that lead to power. Getting distracted by temporary wins, by quick cash, or by immediate pleasures can keep you from building the real wealth and influence you need to succeed. The hustle is just one piece of the puzzle. The empire, the influence. That's where true power lies.
Modern application.
Apply this principle today by looking for opportunities to build rather than just hustle. Whether you're in business, personal development, or relationships, focus on creating lasting value. Don't just aim to survive. Aim to own, to influence, and to control. Take risks, but calculated ones. Invest in education, in assets, in relationships that will help you grow. Build a legacy that won't just leave you a paycheck, but will leave a mark on the world, on the culture, and on the people around you.
Legendary takeaway.
We used to fight for building blocks. Now we fight for blocks with buildings that make a killin. In the end, it's about growth. Move from fighting over what's in front of you to building something that'll stand the test of time. If you want to leave a legacy, don't just fight for what you can take today. Build for the empire of tomorrow.
Be the lion on the chessboard. Command respect, plan your moves, and lead with power. Subscribe, like, and share today.